Peter from Rock Bass Now. I'm here with Craig Strain. How's it going, Craig?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So you started playing bass in clubs and stuff quite young.
Yeah.
On your website, 14.
Yeah, I was
so
like 14.
How did you start doing that?
I've got an older brother who plays guitar.
Yeah.
And so he had this like covers band when he was at college, and we needed a bass player. So little brother got drafted in to play bass.
Yeah.
And that was it. So we just kind of started playing pubs and clubs around town. I was like 14, 15, getting paid in beer, and I was like, this is great.
Beer 14? Yeah, that would be good. So, you come from a musical family then?
Yeah, well, so my brother plays guitar, my mum kind of sings and plays piano, and my dad plays banjo.
That's cool.
Incessantly.
Really? So
Yeah.
is there like a folk music thing too going on at home? Or?
Just like Christmas time jams.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a youngster, we kind of shied away from the folk music stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm growing to appreciate it more.
Well, yeah, it's
For sure.
it's good. Well, like I was saying, I was in Glasgow this year, and there's like a good pub culture. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great place to like get your feet wet.
There were those heaps of sessions and stuff going around.
Yeah.
It's really had a resurgence in the last 10 years.
Yeah, cool. So it's school out there as well.
Yeah.
You went to school out there. So what was sort of the focus of the program you went to? What was the name of the school?
So I studied at the University of Strathclyde,
Yeah.
and the course was called the BA in Applied Music. So it was kind of really broad-based for your first couple of years, and then you could specialise in a strand. So you could do like education, business, jazz. There's a couple other ones as well. So in my third year, I chose to do the jazz strand.
Yeah.
So I did that for a year, and then for my honours year, I produced an album and did a recital.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into the engineering, producing side of things as well.
So for the album, did you have to, what is it, an original album or just?
Yeah, well,
like sort of,
the band I was in at the time,
Yeah.
like a kind of original pop rock
Yeah.
band, I decided to do that. Yeah,
cool.
that was really good.
So and then after you finished school, it seems like you spent some time in Australia as well? Or?
Yeah, that was just recently. When I finished university, I was still doing the original band for like a year or so. So
Yeah.
we were, doing tours in UK and Europe and that kind of thing. And then that kind of fell through. And then I was kind of doing a lot of teaching, but not specifically bass. I was actually working in primary schools with like really young kids, just doing general music. So going into a classroom, taking a bunch of gigs for a music lesson.
Cool. And then you ended up on the cruise ships after that?
Yeah, and then after that I went and did cruise ships for like about 9 months, which was awesome. I got my ass kicked majorly musically.
Yeah.
Like signed on, and the MD gave me like a massive pile of music and was like, learn this, this and this and be on stage at 5.
Wow.
I was like, okay. So turned up and like, it was like 1, 2, 3, go.
So what did you take away from an experience like that?
From that, it was, I couldn't have done that gig if I couldn't read.
Right.
So there's two schools, there's great players and great musicians who can read and they don't have to read. But if you want to do certain kinds of work, pit work, cruise ship work, even jazz gigs, you have to be able to read. So,
Of course, yeah.
and my reading skills were okay, and then after that they got a lot better.
Yeah.
And then from that, I met all different kinds of musicians from around the world. I made best friends with guys from Australia and all this kind of thing.
Yeah. So were you on the stage band or?
I was in the orchestra, so we
Yeah.
would play for like the production show.
Yeah.
And then we would do like big band sets, and we would back up like guest entertainers. So we had
Yeah,
like,
that's sort
special
of what
guests
most of
and
the
stuff.
guys that know have done.
Yeah,
And
so you're doing a wide variety of things, from like Broadway stuff with click track in your ear to
Yeah.
bossa nova on the promenade.
Yeah, I've always all my friends are like funny click track stories, just about how the clicks never line up with the stage shows, and it's just always off.
It's tough. The best story I had was so we're doing the show, and there's like an emergency, so all the power cuts out. The captain comes on and says emergency code, blah 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 blah. But of course, so the sound stuff cuts out and all that kind of thing. But the drummer keeps going.
Yeah.
So the drummer's still playing. So there's no click track. There's no bass. There's no guitar. There's no keyboards. The singers and dancers are still on stage doing their thing. The drummer keeps going. The power comes back on, and somehow he's in the same place. So he's kept the beat, and the power comes back on. And he's like, yeah, nailed it. So that was pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. So another thing I saw on your blog, you were mentioning that you started closing your eyes while doing
yeah
while doing the show. I thought that was interesting because it's something that I've struggled with. Is like focus on stage.
Yeah,
it's so easy to get distracted. I mean, especially with an instrument like bass, where you're like, it's like pocket nailing it. It's so like focused, and then something distracts you, and then you lose it. So like, do you find that worked? Like, what was that?
Yeah, generally it does. I mean, when we spend most of our time not on stage, not on a gig.
Well, yeah.
You know, we spend a lot of time in the practice room or
yeah.
you know, in the rehearsal place and that kind of thing. So, being on stage is quite an alien experience.
Yeah.
Like you're playing forward to all these people and there's lights and the sound's completely different and all that kind of thing. So there's so many variables and so many distractions that I would find myself. It's not that I couldn't play the part. It was just I would make stupid mistakes, you know.
Well, yeah.
And it's one of these things that I've been trying to iron out my playing for a long time. Is just like forgetting that's the bridge or going to the wrong chord and that kind of thing. And I was like, you just need to focus on the music, and the only way I could do that was by closing my eyes. And as soon as you do that, your other senses heighten, right? So your hearing heightens. I found anyway. So I could really lock in more with the drums, and I could, you know, kind of balance myself more with what's going on. Yeah, it just kind of relaxed a bit more.
Interesting. Yeah, I find like for me it's like a pre-show thing that I've developed a ritual, and I'm not as good as it, especially when I get into like the sort of feel of tour, then all of a sudden you're just like, go on stage.
Yeah.
And then walk up stage. But I always try, especially with sort of bigger shows and stuff like that, to like have that time before where you can really like even just warming up, writing down your set list as like a thing to focus on, and then going through the tunes sort of in your head, or even like if there's a passage or whatever, something you always miss going over. I found that helps. That's interesting.
Yeah, so just like, you know, the basics of just like listening and breathing.
Yeah, totally, right? It's that thing that horn players always talk about, breathing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need it too.
Yeah.
We need to think about that.
But then, you know, there's another aspect of putting on a show. Like if you're sitting there,
like,
what's this guy doing? You know? So
just turn your back.
Sometimes it's just to bring yourself back in and
center yourself kind of thing. Interesting. Well, that's a good one. Awesome. Well, that was Craig Strain, www.craigstrainmusic.com and @StoneColdStrain on Twitter.
That's the one.
Thanks so much, Craig.
Thanks, Pete.